Well, hey, welcome back to Harriet's Florida Kitchen. I'm Harriet, this is my kitchen, and we're in Florida. And so I know what's on your mind. We're approaching Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to do with all of that leftover turkey? So you've had your turkey, it's delicious, and then you want to do something that is so easy because you have been cooking for days. So I'm telling you, this is the best way, the best recipe on the planet for using your leftover turkey. First, I'm going to use the chicken Divan recipe, chicken/turkey Divan recipe from the Gasparilla cookbook. The only thing you're going to use is frozen broccoli, leftover chicken or turkey, half a cup of sherry, always a great addition. And then make the cream sauce from the Gold Cookbook by Louis P. DeGuy. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, and it's going to take you probably 20 minutes to put the whole thing together, stick it in the oven, cook it for 30 minutes, it'll be done. Anyway, get ready, you're going to love it. It's the best thing, it may be the best thing, it's not the best thing I've ever made, but it's one of the best things I've ever made.
Now, the magic of this dish is in the cream sauce. Because everything has to come together while you're stirring it over the burner, you need to prep all the ingredients and have them standing by in advance. First, separate the eggs, and do not absent-mindedly drop both in the bowl together, as I did with the first one. Anyway, you get them separated, and you note that this the chicken Divan recipe calls for 3 cups of sauce. So I've tripled the basic recipe, and in this case, I've used 3 eggs. You'll see that the egg separating is going a little more smoothly. And I've not dropped any whites and yellows into the same bowl again. Next, you whip the eggs, and you just have to whip them together. You don't have to do anything. They're not going to rise or anything like that. You are going to have leftover egg whites. I use the whites for an omelet or an angel food cake or something like that. Just try to think of something to use them for. Anyway, so you don't feel wasteful. Next, the thing that sets Louis P.'s cream sauce apart is the way you first scald the milk with a couple of slices of onion, a bit of bay leaf, sprigs of parsley, and a clove. Now, because we've tripled this recipe, you need to triple those things too. But all you do is you put them in the pan over medium heat, and you have to watch it very, very carefully, but you're not going to let it boil, you're not going to let it scorch. Now, I know you don't need me to tell you that scalding means the milk starts to steam and shows small bubbles around the edges. It shows it around the edge of the pan, shows it around the edge of the onions and the parsley, and when you wiggle it around, you'll see it especially on the side of the pan. It begins to almost stick to the side of the pan. And once it's started doing that, you quickly remove the hot milk from the heat before it can scorch or boil, and you can pour through a strainer if you want to use extra pots and pans, of course, or you can just lift out the onions and stuff and put it into the measuring cup that's already dirty. Now, in a separate pan, you put the hot milk aside for a few minutes, and in a separate pan, you make a roux by melting. So a roux is equal parts butter and flour, equal parts fat and flour. And you make a roux, in this case, by melting the butter and adding the flour over a medium flame and stirring constantly while you add the flour a little bit at a time, and you keep stirring, keep whisking it. And I strongly recommend that you use a non-stick pan. It will change your life. But you keep whisking and whisking and whisking until you get it. You keep it smooth as it goes. And then little by little, it's going to thicken up. You're going to start adding it. Then you add the salt and the white pepper. And eventually, you're going to slowly add in that scalded milk. Now, remember, I've tripled the salt and I've tripled the white pepper for purposes of making 3 cups. But this is how you're doing it. So you're adding in, finally, you add in the scalded milk. And then you could never stop stirring. You keep stirring over a medium or a medium-low heat until the whole concoction begins to thicken and bubble. Now, it may take you a little bit longer than you like for the bubbling because it needs to be on medium heat, and it's not a good idea to speed it up. I've tried it. It's a bad idea. So you let it finally come to a bubble for 3 or 4 minutes, and you notice that it's kind of a blop. If you've been to Yellowstone National Park, then you know it looks like sort of the inner part of the earth coming up. There's this very slow bubbling plump, plump. But it will eventually do it. And you let it kind of bubble along finally once it gets started for 3 or 4 minutes. And then you remove it from the heat and set it aside quickly. pour in the egg yolks, and don't put it back on the heat. Put in the egg yolks, whip it as fast as you can, and then whip in the added Parmesan as well. Again, off of the heat. Whip it in, set it aside, and let it stand until you're ready to use it in a few minutes, because as soon as you layer the rest of the casserole, it's going to be ready to put in there. Now it's time to assemble the whole thing. First, you make sure you have dried the 2 pounds of defrosted broccoli. All you have to do is get the broccoli out of the freezer, let it sit on the counter for a while or the refrigerator overnight. But the thing is, you must get all of the water that has come out of that defrosted broccoli. So get that off, and then put it into a glass casserole dish. You lay the florets across the bottom of the casserole dish. Then you add in the layer of chicken or turkey. Make sure that you tear it into small bits, because it can get dried out a little bit because you've already cooked it once, remember, and now you're cooking it again. So the more it can absorb the cream sauce and the sherry and things like that, the better it'll be. Now you can use 3-4 cups of turkey or chicken, whichever you like. I like using Harvey's Bristol cream when I use the sherry. Pour it as evenly as you possibly can over the whole thing. And finally, it's time to put the cream sauce on it. So you whip the cream sauce up a little bit more, again, not overheat, just whip it up so that make sure that it's all mixed. And then you start spreading it around evenly like icing a cake. And make sure that you get it smoothly put over the whole thing, into the corners. Now, if you've made a thinner sauce, it'll sort of dribble down into the turkey and the broccoli. If you've made a thick sauce, as I did, it will perch on top, but that's fine. It'll be delicious once you've done it, because remember, the sherry is already in on top of the chicken and the broccoli, so that'll help keep it moist. And then the cream sauce, well, I don't know. I just know that the cream sauce really works once you eat it. You take the last of your Parmesan, you sprinkle a 1/4 cup across the top as evenly as you can. And then you stick it in the oven. Now, you put it in for longer and hotter than I said at the beginning. I baked it for about 45 minutes at 375. It doesn't have to recook again. It just has to heat, and you want to make sure that the cream sauce becomes golden and bubbly, because it makes it delicious. Okay, looks pretty good. This is always the scary part. You never know. It's always been really good before, mind you. Never has it screwed up, but amazing as always that the broccoli stayed as green as it did. Ooh, 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 ooh. Mm. 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 It's really good, really, really good. Oh my gosh, that's just the best. It's just the best cream sauce there is in the world. It is so terrific, and combined with the fresh broccoli and all that turkey or all of that chicken. Oh my gosh, it is just wonderful. Okay, I strongly recommend, if whatever you've got left over from Thanksgiving, or you know what, if you're just trying to look for a good chicken dish during the year, anytime. It's delicious. Thank you for joining me on Harriet's Florida Kitchen again.